Driving test leaving from Birmingham Garretts Green, time about 12:03 p.m, going towards Fordbridge via the Radleys. You'll notice there's still a car reverse parking as they start to move out. Personally, I would have waited a little bit longer, but there wasn't any faults here. Now, with the new driving test changes, this is in effect now. So we should only see 3 stops and highly unlikely we'll get an emergency stop. For Garretts Green, we're not noticing any huge differences, so keep doing what you do. As usual, things are starting off a little bit tight. Straight ahead and see how there's a van coming. It would have been better to hold back behind that large vehicle. They did get quite close to the van, so picked up one minor fault here for clearance. As usual, there's a little bit of a backlog on the hill. Nothing too major. Some people are a little bit afraid of this test time. They think it's stupidly busy. But just look at it at the moment. As long as you can do hill stars, you're absolutely fine to wait in this traffic. Think of it this way as well. When you get your pink license, you're probably going to get stuck in queues. They have a really good positioning entering this box. It is quite important because if you don't enter it far enough and cars can't get past you on the left, you could be slowing them down or causing them to stop. I always get asked what the speed limit is down here. The first thing I would say is, do you really want to be doing 30 miles per hour down a road this built up? The answer is no. Do a speed that's safe for that time. Generally the fastest I see people be able to do down these roads is 25 max. It's normally quite busy, always cars around, always learner drivers. They have really good patience as they're waiting for this manoeuvre to finish. Now, they were stuck there for a while, so they should have checked their mirrors before moving off. Think of it this way, could a cyclist or a motorbike or a pedestrian have caught up with them in that time? The answer is yes. So there was one fault picked up there. If you are at a stop for quite a while, especially in a built up area, remember, look around, make sure it's safe. Just quickly check to your left and right. You need to know what's around you. At the end of this road, they've been asked to go right. If you look at where they stopped the car, it's quite far over the give way line. Hopefully the entire bonnet's over it. Now there is a car that's to the right, which was coming along this stretch of road. I think there was a slight confusion with directions, but they do end up stopping in the middle of the lane. At this point, the examiner is telling them that they need to start edging forwards, but because of the car to the right, it does go down as a serious fault. You'll see in a moment. That black car had priority and emerging out slowed them down. A lot of people ask the difference between a serious or a dangerous fault. The main difference is dangerous, the examiner physically has to take control or actions. That's either verbally or physically. It could also mean that you did something, say for example, hit a lamppost. Bit of an extreme one, but that would be classed as a dangerous fault. A serious fault, you might not know that you've got. Now, I believe at this point my learner did realise they got a serious fault at that junction. So things may go downhill from here. There was quite a large slowdown here, which was correct. You should be slowing down so that the obstacles that come in towards you can pass, but there was no mirror checks involved. On the test form, you'll notice a little category. It says use of mirrors, change of speed. Think of it this way. Anytime there's a massive change of speed, could something catch up with you or be at your side? So they have one of their stops here. This one looks like an angled start. I don't think they could be doing parallel park here. Yeah, no problems. They never really give parallel park down here, at least from what I've seen. It's just normally a bit too busy for that. Our space here is seriously restricted, and they do give equal space either side, and they kept a good speed. At this roundabout, try and look at the cars that are coming from straight ahead that could be blockers. The cars I marked with an arrow are coming from straight ahead and going straight ahead, so they could be potential blockers. Just so you know, the footage is sped up, so they weren't actually going that fast. But a big obvious gap eventually opens up and they take it. There wasn't any marks for hesitation, but I think it was bordering on that. In your test though, I do sometimes say it's better to be hesitant than overly confident. It's harder to fail for being a little bit hesitant than it is pulling out on somebody at the wrong moment. As the examiners like to say, if you don't know, you don't go. Now, I don't actually have any videos where they've made this right turn before, but you'll soon notice that it leads you towards the spiral roundabout and the shops. The big Asda by Fordbridge. This can sometimes be quite a large roundabout. The first exit that you see, you can't take. We've seen this roundabout quite a few times. You will know that the lane to the left is a bus lane and access lane only. Things get a little bit complicated here. They do end up going quite off course. At the roundabout, they're meant to be going straight ahead, but they move over to the left-hand lane without the correct checks. Notice how nobody was around. That's why it didn't go down as a serious fault. They're now driving into the shop's car park, which isn't where they were meant to be going. The examiner is now trying to redirect them back around. Now, at this point, I believe the examiner was reiterating the directions. It sounds slightly firmer, but it's nothing to worry about. They're just trying to get everything back on course and onto roads that are correct. For all you know, the roads that you were heading to the wrong way could be very, very difficult and not suitable. They're just looking out for you. So at the moment, they have been reminded what road signs they should be following. For the next one, they should be going the first exit. Now, with this one, I do recommend that you signal to the left as it makes the intentions much more clear. The roundabout board says straight ahead, but it would benefit people to signal left here. Now, at this roundabout, they don't give priority to the right where you see that learner vehicle. It's not till last minute that they've entered the roundabout, they're fully in it, that they decide to stop and then wait for the learner vehicle to the right. Things get a little bit confusing here, and the examiner's telling them that they have to clear the roundabout and to keep moving on. The learner vehicle was waiting patiently, but because of the emerge, it forced them to stop. It does go down as a serious fault. Now, there was some issues in the car at this point, and they did pick up a fault for control, use of accelerator. I don't quite exactly know what happened inside, but it could be things, for example, like over revving, which is quite common if you've just slowed someone down. You want to clear it, get away from them, don't you? At this roundabout they noticed it was clear and they took it, but as they came off there wasn't the mirror checks to the left. So when coming off at roundabouts, centre mirror, left mirror, signal off if it's appropriate. At the moment there's 2 lanes for straight ahead. Because my learners picked the left lane, they should stick to the left of the road. As they enter, the positioning's okay, but they do end up quite far over to the right hand side of the road. That is acceptable as long as you check your mirrors and make sure nobody's to your side first. The lane further down, it does narrow into 1, but if you're going to do it this way, make sure that you check the mirrors before you move across. This part here, they did pick up a fault for move off safety. We didn't get told why in the debrief. It could be for a few different reasons. For example, if the observations were lacking. We're getting 2 lanes for straight ahead. If you are picking the left hand lane, I normally recommend you keep as far to the left as you can. They end up in the middle of the road, which is okay at that point because there's nobody around and technically the lines aren't marked as 2. Same as the situation before, they merged down to 1 further up, no one was around, nobody was affected. At this point they stopped quite far over the give way line. It didn't get in the way of anyone, but it was quite heavily over. If you do need to stop, wait behind the give way line. That way you're putting yourself less at risk of a serious fault. Now there were some other serious faults on the fault list. In the footage you can't see them and we weren't told in the debrief where they happened. If there is too many faults, the examiner can't debrief you on every single one. It would just take far too long. They focus on the key ones and then debrief you from there. So the faults that you can't see I'm going to add on now. The faults were control foot brake and also control clutch. Now, they haven't done a manoeuvre yet, which means they're getting a reverse bay park in the test centre. Before this test, they had struggled a little bit with bay park, even though on lessons before they had done it perfectly. That's what test nerves does to you. Sometimes the anxiety kicks in and the stress kicks in and it makes you think you can't do it when you can. You see me in the far right corner there, absolutely freezing. At this point, I'm nervously watching and absolutely freezing. You can see me from afar, just make sure it goes okay. Trying to act casual and discreet. So they managed to get it in first time with absolutely no problem. This person I have recommended to do the test within the next 4 to 6 weeks. Really gives time to home in on those improvements. All in all, it was a good try and it was a good first test. Sometimes the hardest part is getting in that car and doing the test.